So the Quran has many names, but one of its names is that it is called the clear book. Because where the Bible may speak to us in symbols and signs, parables and things that you have to have a bit of knowledge to be able to decode, the Quran comes behind it now to clear up some of these things, and as we say in this house a lot of times, make it plain. Make it plain. Bring it on down so that we can understand it in plain terms, and so that we don't have an excuse when it all goes down. It's called a clear book, so that we who maybe don't have all of the wisdom to decode the Bible, we will have an opportunity to read a book that will explain to us what God requires, what He demands, what He says to us is the measure of success with Him. Because what God says is success is true success. What God lays out as His measure is that by which we should measure. One of the great crimes of this world is that it is taking God out of His place as the authority of reality. That it now has taken Him out of the equation when it comes to measuring good and evil. When it comes to measuring right and wrong. His standard of what is good and what is not good is very clear in both books. And He gives it not to condemn us, but so that we can measure ourselves. That we can see how close or how far we are away from the criterion. That's one of the names of the Quran. It is the criterion, Al-Farrakhan. It is that by which we can measure ourselves. So that when we see, oh, I'm far away, maybe I need to get a little bit closer to what He's asking.
That's right.
That's what the word is meant to do, not to condemn us, but that we can have a chance to see how close or how far we are to correct us. That's why when we come here, we lift up the Quran. We lift up the word as a criterion, not to condemn, but to correct. It's not a house where everyone is perfect, or a house of perfection, but it certainly is a house of correction. It is a house where if we see we are far away from the standard, we have to see, what can I do to get back right again? What can I do to get back closer to what He's asking of me? If we can see the book as a criterion, the final revelation, to help us to see where we are, it's a blessing to be able to see whether you are close or far off of the mark. It's not necessarily beneficial for us to feel down and out if we've made a mistake. If we have slipped away from the criterion, it is good to have a feeling of a bit of remorse, a bit of pain, but not so much that it becomes guilt that it restricts us from getting back on the path. It is good when we see that we have dipped a little bit, strayed a little bit, or made a mistake to pick ourselves up and get back to the course. That is at the root purpose of God's giving His word. It is a mercy to the people. Not a condemnation, but a merciful call to say, come on back and get it together. When we see this is given to us, the Quran, it is always patterned in God's work among the people that He doesn't just give them a book, but He also gives them a man.
That's right.
In every revelation, there is no book that just fell out of the sky. It came through the hearts and the minds of men and women.
That's right.
It was through the mouths of the prophets that the words came forward that make up the Torah. That make up the Injil, the Old Testament and the New Testament. And it was through Muhammad of Arabia 1400 years ago that God revealed the Quran. These books didn't fall out of the sky to the people, but they were inspired through the hearts of men.
That's right.
So if the book becomes a criterion, those prophets that the word came through also were a measure for the people. That they could see an example, as my brother mentioned before me. They could see a pattern. And in seeing someone embody the word, seeing someone live a life that is closer to what God is asking, then you can now follow that example. If it's just words on paper, or if it is the example of an alien, you can't use that to measure yourself. You have to see someone like yourself living what you desire to live, that you can know if he or she can do it, then I can do it too. That's the great benefit of having a good teacher. They don't just provide you the layout and the formula, they also give you a demonstration. The great, wonderful example of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gives us great teaching and great demonstration that we can now be what we always knew we could be deep in our heart. If we see God has provided a book and a man today by which we can measure ourselves, that we can see the way to success, it really is helpful to us to see what is God's measure of success for us today. For this world, as my brother mentioned, it will lay out to us success as material gain. The book Quran talks about this world's life being a life of sport and play.